single day. And looks like YouTube is up too. What's up, guys? LinkedIn and YouTube. Glad you guys could tune in. And let's get right into it. You guys know this is a series, a full business series based off the Daily Drucker. I always like to make sure everyone understands that before we get started right into this and segue into a topic that maybe people are like, hey, this isn't entertaining. It's not entertaining, right? Maybe it is, but it's more business than anything. It's what you take away from it. It's how you apply it to business. You guys see the topic with this one, the 5 business managers, the 5 managers objectives, right? It's business, business, right? So, all right, so you guys understand the topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys those 5 topics. Some of it I'm going to read to you directly because I don't like to miss a lot of the points sometimes when it comes to what should be explained. So I'm definitely going to read that to you guys. Before we even get started, I need you guys to like, subscribe, follow, do that great stuff on YouTube, because that's what helps get everything going, right? Some people, don't understand that, and they watch the video, but they don't click like it. Click like, come on, click like, right? So click like, right? Because when you click like, then it makes everything work the way it's supposed to, right? So without further delay, let's get into the 5 actual topics here. Okay, so the 5 objectives for business managers are real simple, but yet sometimes overlooked, right? So I don't want to miss that. First of all, right, of the 5, the most important one is training your employees, right? You have to nurture your team members, employees, what have you, right? So it's real important keeping that communication going. But I don't want to skip out of order, so I'm going to read you guys these, like I said, directly of those 5. First one for managers, right, is setting objectives. Managers set objectives, and they set those expectations with those objectives, okay? And I'll read into that for a second, right? Second, managers organize. They organize. After they have set the objectives, they organize this with the employees, and I'll get into that detail for us in a second, right? So 3, right? Managers motivate and communicate, right? So you can imagine where that's going to go, because I'm going to read that to you too. And number 4, fourth one, he says the manager measures, right? He measures the performance based off of the first 3, right? So he set the objectives, right? He also organized it after he set those objectives. Then he motivates and communicates with them, right? Now he's going to measure that. And then the 4th one, which is the first one that I explained in the beginning, right, is they develop themselves and those people, the employees, right? You have to develop them. You have to get them to where you need them to be, right? So let's get into details. The first one, what did I say that was? Set the objectives, right? So managers in first set the objectives. They determine what objectives should be. They determine what the goals in each area of the objective should be. They decide what has to be reached for each objective. Then they make objectives effective by communicating them to the people whose performance is needed, right? Whose performance is needed to attain the objective, right? So if you guys understand that, you realize that when you set an objective, there's several tasks that have to be understood with those objectives. And most importantly is making sure that everyone understands the overall goal of those objectives. The second one in detail, we said that managers organize. He explains, right? They analyze the objectives, decisions, and relations needed. They classify the work, they divide it into the manageable activities, and further divide the activities into manageable jobs. So you divide the activities first, then you divide those activities into manageable jobs. You don't want to overload anybody, right? After you've done that, they group these units and jobs into an organization structure. They select people for the management of these units and for the jobs to be done. So if a manager selects a manager, that manager is not called a manager as well. That manager is called a supervisor, right? So you're selecting that, you're delegating to make sure that the tasks at hand get done for the overall goal up top, right? So you see how it trickles down and you set a structure that's going to make sense to get the job done, essentially. Number 3, motivating and communicating. All right, so they make a team out of the people who are responsible for the various jobs. So when you create your supervisor for that objective that you divided down, right? Now you have a team, because that supervisor, maybe you're gonna have them supervise 5 people, right? So then of those 5 people, they each are knocking out the overall task that the supervisor is overseeing, and the supervisor reports back to the manager. Therefore, we have now organized it, which is number 4, right? So with that one, I was trying to figure out how to really deliver this. With the organizing, we need a system, right? And that system is a measurement. So with a measurement, we're able to determine over a period of time what the results are going to be. And here's how he explains it. He goes, the manager establishes yardsticks, if you will, or in some cases they call it deliverables, right? So the deliverables has a few factors as important as performance of the organization and every person that's doing it, is how he explains it, right? So if you set a deliverable, you set a hard date, bam, right? So everyone now has to meet their individual. So you have your supervisor, you have your 5 members, and each one of them has a deliverable date where they need to complete, right? And then the results of that performance is a measurement for that team, and then each team completes theirs, and then they all report back. You see how that story goes. So if you have several tasks, maybe you have 10 employees, 2 supervisors, the 2 supervisors report back to you, the 5 and the 5 that report to the supervisors, they're out there doing it, and their work is being measured over a period of time for the results to see if that works. If not, you test it, go back and push it back out there again. We talked about that in a previous series. Last one is developing people and themselves. That explains it itself, right? So he hits it with an action point. You know, we always tie in with an action point. It says, manage by setting objectives and organizing, motivating, communicating with, measuring, and developing people, including